Welcome to the Q4 review for Flow Connect and Classic. As a reminder, please use the Q&A section for all questions. We will monitor this throughout the session and do our best to answer any questions that come up. For those who haven't been a part of Zoom before, that Q&A section looks a little something like this at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The team that we'll be presenting today is shown in front of you here. These will also be the people who will monitor and answer the questions. You have Andreas, Urshad, Łukasz, Ola, and myself. Our agenda looks a little something like this. First, we'll go through some introductions, which I'm doing now. Then we'll talk about Flow Connect first and foremost, then go to Flow Classic. I'll give you a glimpse of the roadmap, the marketplace, and then we'll go to some questions and answers that we're not able to get to during the session. As a reminder, we always talk a little bit about our goals for this meeting, but we do want to foster transparency. One of the things that we really want to do here is give you full visibility into what we are building in R&D. This is an opportunity for you to see how our development aligns with your needs and understand the direction of our product roadmap. So please use this as a way to collaborate with us. Your feedback is truly critical. And today we'll discuss what we've delivered this quarter, but also preview features that are upcoming. So your input really helps us shape that future. And once again, we will always focus on what is delivered in the quarter. So if you're interested in seeing what we've done in previous quarters, I would strongly suggest going to the YouTube links and taking a look. All of these sessions are recorded and posted on our YouTube, so you can catch up at any point. And with that, I'll hand things over to Ola, who will show you some of the exciting features we've rolled out in Flow Connect this quarter.
So I'll show you what feels like for the third quarter in a row, some updates around the phrasebook, which is our way of translating apps and portal pages these days. And what we've been doing the last quarter is actually to implement that in the portal, and we also now have a support for it in our web-based designer. So let's take a look at that. To start with, first a little recap of how translations worked in Flow Classic, where you had to go in each user step, and for each of the element in each user step, you had to do a translation for each of the languages you wanted to translate to. So if I did it in one user step, I had to go over to the next user step and go through all the elements. And the keen-eyed here could actually notice that I probably did a mistake in my first user step here when I wrote continent in English and river in Spanish, which is wrong, but the only way to catch this would actually be to run through this app in all different languages and pay a lot of attention. So it's kind of easy to make a little mistake. Portal 2, if you ever used translations there, had a little different approach to it. It was a long list, which could maybe give a better overview of your translations and had better support for importing and exporting maybe, but it was a little bit tricky to see what was translated and where also. So in Connect, if we turn the page over, I'm going to show you how we try to have a unified way of doing it, both in Portal and in Connect. So this is a little teeny tiny dummy scenario. I'm letting my user here select a country from a list. They can then, in the portal here, click on a button to show you some of the rivers, the longest rivers that exist in the continent. Now we have a problem. We have hired Manuel from Faulty Towers. And if you don't get that reference, you have to talk to an old person that can tell you. He does only speak Spanish, however, so I need to translate my page and my solution here into Spanish. The way I do that, I go into my portlet page. I click on the little pen to edit the portlet. And then I want to start with the name of this portlet. So you see on the top there, it says countries. So I simply go into countries and I press the little plus button here to add countries to my phrasebook. What happens now is I'm adding a variable to my phrasebook. So the unique ID is countries and the default language will be countries. So this can be used for other things than pure translations actually. So having added that, it changes the name of my portlet to, if I look in the edit pane, it is phrase.countries. And if I navigate down to the three buttons here, I can open my Facebook. And I need to go in now and add a language. Emmanuel speaks Spanish, so I'm going to add the Spanish language here. And then I need to figure out what countries are called in Spanish. It's países, I happen to know. And while I'm in here in the phrase book, I'm actually going to add a new phrase, rivers, which is ríos in Spanish. Pressing apply. So now I have two phrases in my phrase book. And we could see if I keep an eye up here on the name of the portlet, it's still countries. The name of the button is still rivers. And the header of my column is still countries. But if I go down and change my language to Spanish, we can see that the title of my portlet has now changed to países instead. That is good. Let's continue. I want to translate my button and the header of the table as well. I go back into edit, and this time under data, I navigate down to my header, which is called countries. And I do the same thing here. I add to Facebook. And then we realize, oh, the translation already exists. So why not reuse existing one instead of creating a bunch of duplicates? Of course, we want to do that. All right, I press preview, and lo and behold, now my portlet, my column header is also translated into Spanish for Manuel. Let's continue with the button. I click my way down to interactions in the edit. And now, since I've added rivers already, I can just type curly bracket phrase dot, and I'll see a list of my variables with some intelligence. So here I choose rivers, press apply, and look, the button is also changed. While we did this is a little, maybe for the portal, the one more thing event, because maybe more the developers realized once we did this, we have actually access to FlowScript inside of the portal as well. So let me show you that by using a little teeny tiny FlowScript command here. It's now will just show me the current time. And the left command here takes the first 10 characters, which is a date part in ISO format out of the date. So adding that there, we get the current date displayed in the header. So we now have actually FlowScript support in these places as well. So that is nice. All right, on to Manuel's Spanish translation here. I so far only translated the portal. So if I'd start the app here, it's going to still say rivers per continent. And also inside of the app, we have still North America rivers, it says, so I need to translate those as well. Folding over to the hub, I go into settings for my application, navigate up to the phrasebook icon, and for the name here, I add a Spanish translation, Ríos por continente, or something like that. And pressing save. And then when I start the app, it's going to translate it into Spanish. But I still have the rivers here, need to translate that as well. Going back over to the hub, opening the app, and this is what it looks like in the new web designer if you haven't seen it before. I go in again, I need to find my user step where it said rivers. And here I see in the label, I already have a variable here. It says first input continent.rivers. Do we have support for that? We seem to do actually. So if I add to Facebook, it's going to add continent rivers. So the entire label will now look like this, phrase.rivers, and then we pass in the variable that we want. So that is what it looks like. Here is a kind of quirky part, right? Because we have now a phrasebook out in the portal, but I need to build my phrasebook inside of the app here. And I need to do the same thing, adding Spanish. And rivers is ríos in Spanish. We'll do the same thing, paste the continent, ríos. And now if I open my app again, we will actually have North America ríos and ríos por continente. So the place where you can translate is where you have the possibility to name stuff for your user. We don't translate the data. And North America, as you can see in the background, comes from the portlet. And also Mississippi, Missouri, and Colorado is data. So we don't translate data with this. It's just the user interface we translate. All right, some questions might start popping up, I hope at least. I would ask myself, can we import a translated flow from Classic? Well, let's see. I happen to have a workflow that is called transfer to payroll. We have an import button here in the hub. I fetch my exported WAP file, choose which packet to import it into. And there we have it. In transfer to payroll is imported. Open it in the web designer. All right, this is going to be interesting. Phrasebook is in the web designer. I shouldn't say hidden, but it's placed down here. So I'll start by opening Phrasebook. And look at that, looks pretty good. We have a bunch of translations in here already. There's one translated in Swedish to OK, from OK. That looks pretty good. And I can see I have a user step here in the middle with a button outgoing saying OK. I open it and yeah, look at that. We actually do have a phrasebook. It's translated to phrasebook. So during the import, it's both creates my phrasebook and it remaps my variables into the translated variable. So it's a little bit nice. This is a slide we took from the user conference we had a little bit about the phrasebook. And it could be so that you are thinking about two more questions around phrasebooks. One, of course, could be if we can possibly maybe share a phrasebook between, as in this scenario, we had a page and an app, couldn't we just share a phrasebook between them? And the other one might be if we have a Portal 2 translated today, what happens when I migrate that? Is it the same functionality as we have with the Flow here, the apps, that it get translated? And I'm going to be kind enough to hand that over to Paul to see if he can answer that for us in a few minutes. But right before that, I want to pass the ball over to Andreas, who I think is going to show us some things you really appreciate when it comes to debugging workflows and apps.
Okay, so we have made great progress on the web designer this past quarter, adding several powerful new capabilities. As you saw in Ola's demo, translations with Phrasebook are already working end to end. We have added full support for building offline applications, including data preloading and asynchronous transactions. Breakpoint debugging is now available, and it works for offline applications as well, a major improvement over Classic. I will now demo how to make the count or count report application offline capable in Web Designer. This application fetches count reports, which contain the inventory parts to be counted. So the first thing we'll do is that we will add the local data that needs to be downloaded to the client. So we'll select the component that fetches the data. We have the local data name that will be displayed in the client. We can set data expiration and the behavior when the data has expired. So we'll save that. And next, we will replace the steps where we currently fetch the data from the backend system. So now instead, we want this to run on the client, and we'll use the locally downloaded data. And now we'll do the same thing for the count report details. So we want it to run on the client, and we'll select the offline data for the counting report lines. And then this step will filter for the currently selected count report. And now we will add the queue lanes. So that's for the asynchronous transactions. add one above and one below. And now we'll start moving the transactions to the queue lane. And we will configure the crossing. So this will show up in the client sync log. So we'll say that we are confirming a count report and we'll add the number of the count report. And then we'll also add the step where we save the counted quantity. So we'll add a split step and remove the save line and move the machine steps to the queue lane below. And having one or two queue lanes doesn't really matter from a technical perspective. It's just to make it convenient to design your application. And we'll configure the crossing in this lane as well. So now we will show the part counted and the counted quantity for that part. And then we'll reconnect this step. So now we can start the client. And since this is an offline application, we need to download the data before we can run it the first time. So we'll go into My Data and we'll find the data we need to download. Like this. And then we can run the application. And we will select account report and count the two inventory parts that we have on the list. So we'll enter the quantity and select the next one. And now we can confirm on the lines when we have counted all of them. So now if we go back to My Data, we will see the sync log. There we can see that we have 3 transactions we just executed. So we have 2 for saving the counted quantity and 1 for confirming the report. And if you switch back to the designer, we can also add breakpoints inside the queue lanes. Like that. And now when we run the application again in the client, we'll execute or count one of the parts again. And now when we press save, we can see that we stop the execution and we see the path to where we are at the top. So we see the crossing and we see the current machine step where we have the breakpoint. So with these new features, it will be much easier to debug your applications. We've also added diagnostic mode in the client for both test and production environments. So this greatly simplifies identifying and resolving issues directly in production. So if we, in the client, switch to a test environment, we now have a setting, go to settings in the client, and we have enable diagnostic panel. So now when we run an application, you can see that we have the diagnostic panel button available even in a test environment. So there we can see the variables, and if we execute, we'll see the variables updating. And the diagnostic setting is active only for the current session. So since showing the diagnostic panel introduces a minor performance impact, it will automatically reset when the session ends. So full support for translations in applications and portal pages, including the ability to migrate translated applications from Classic. We have designed offline capable applications with preloaded data and asynchronous transactions. Debug components and applications, including offline applications. Enable diagnostic mode in test and production environments. And we have received a very positive feedback from our testers. Once they begin using the new designer, they don't want to go back. The web designer is available as a beta release, and reach out to us if you want it enabled in your organization. So we're very much looking forward to releasing this at the beginning of next year.
Okay, so the features that were presented to you are just a small subset of the features that we released this quarter. The ones that are in front of you are the progress that we've made this quarter in Flow Connect beyond what's being demoed. So we strongly suggest that you explore these capabilities by visiting the release logs, which can be found at docs.novacura.com. As a reminder, there is the Q&A button below. Please do your best to ask questions on anything that's being demoed here now or what will be demoed in the future. So a couple of key features I want to talk through that we're unable to demo today. The SCIM feature has been released in Flow Connect. SCIM basically lets you use your identity provider like an Entra ID to do the heavy lifting of user management. Users and groups can automatically be synced, so you don't have to do this manually. It could also do things like create and update the users on the fly and also deactivate them. So when someone joins, leaves, or changes roles within Flow Connect, it will follow your directory. Your group-based access stays completely in sync during this. And then I think one of the most important features here that we like to call out is that new users won't have to get invitation emails anymore. So you can simply sign on with their Microsoft account on day one without having to go through the acceptance of the invitation any further if you use SCIM. The next feature here is the Flow connector. The agents, we've released a few new versions of the agents. The most recent is 735. And here we've added a few new features such as the machine name in the hub. So only for new connector agents, it's now possible to opt out of this, but you can see the machine that the agent is installed in when you do your install of a connector agent. For the SQL Server connector, we allow the connector to accept self-signed certificates without validating against the certificate authority. And for the REST connector, a pass-through proxy is allowed to be used now. However, this will need to be configured per client. If your agent or group has multiple, or if your group has multiple agents, you must configure the proxy individually for each one. With the new HTML to PDF functionality, you can take any HTML content and convert it directly into PDF, which then can be used in something like the file gallery as an example in a user step. You can also merge multiple PDFs into a single file, all within the same workflow. I think the really powerful part of this is that you can now chain operations together in a single step. For example, you could create a PDF email, add it to a zip file, and then write it to a directory all in one flow script step. So for those who aren't familiar with HTML, really good AI tools out there as well to help you generate these HTML-like scripts. You could use something like ChatGPT or other AI tools. We've also released the SFTP connector. So the primary thing you can do is upload and download files from an SFTP server, but is not limited to that. You can also create remote directories, list files in the directories, and handle other common tasks. Because this is FlowScript based as well, you can also daisy chain the operations together in a single step. which can make complex workflows much simpler. This one at this point covers everything Flow Classic did, including the directory operations, upload, downloads, and file level operations. Now we've added a new time zone handling feature in the database connector. So the goal here is to be able to support users across multiple time zones. Specifically very useful when we do things like Gantt and Scheduler, which are coming out in the following quarters. So the hope here is that you'll be able to set either a date or time and convert that time accordingly in the client. More demos will be used here in the future when we show it off in the scheduler portlet. Now, in Flow Classic, we've released a new version of the IFS OData connector. This one allows relative URL changes and machine steps so they can now be saved correctly for both converted and new custom operations. So you should take a look at your version that you're on. This one is 2.1.34. And if you need this feature, feel free to update. Also, a really good reminder that in March of next year, Microsoft is permanently removing the support for basic authentication. So if you are a customer using smtp.office365.com, there's some guidance in this message here. If you scan the QR code on the path forward, the choices in front of you are that you can move to a high volume account for internal recipient emails. You are also able to do Azure communication services for both internal and external recipients. We can help you set that up if you need. And if you're running on-prem Exchange or some hybrid setup, you can continue using basic authentication in that manner. We've released 6.15.20 and also released a new portal version, 2025.3. We fixed things like records disappearing when you sort, tab data not showing correctly, list of values not refreshing, and the endless scheduler spinner. And we've tightened up our error messages. The error message items that you want to have included inside of the portal, you will need to update the server to 6.15.20 to support that. Now, I think we've talked about this before in our Connect conference, but it's a good opportunity to revisit it with our customers. We are sunsetting Flow Classic. By now, you all should have received an email from us about the retirement of Flow Classic. So I want to highlight a few key points that we should go through here. First, we're going to extend the standard support for Classic through the end of 2026. That means everything continues as normal, same scope, similar pricing, same service that you've been accustomed to having for Flow Classic over the past 2 years. After that, starting in Q1 of 2027, we move to the restricted support period. And that lasts until September 30th of 2027. And during that period, we'll still handle major issues, especially security-related issues, but we won't fix or be adding new features for lower priority issues. They might not be resolved. And importantly, restricted support will only apply for on-prem customers. Classic will no longer be offered as a SaaS model after 2026. So effectively, all customers need to complete their migration of Flow Connect by the restricted support completion period here. The good news is that Connect now covers a majority of almost everything Classic had, and it adds more functionality. So most customers are ready to move without functionality gaps. There are several ways that you can migrate today. We do have an upgrade team that can manage the migration for you end to end with minimal effort for you as a customer. Or if you prefer, you have the ability to migrate yourself. We've provided advisory sessions and import tools and training for you if that's the route you'd like to take. Once you do go through that upgrade process, you are able to run these environments in parallel. So both Flow Classic and Connect can be ran in parallel for a period of time. And that gives you a safe transition window. Usually it is around 3 months, but that can be discussed further if you need more time. And finally, for customers who must stay on-prem, Flow Connect Edge is coming in Q4. It follows a cloud-first model, but lets you run runtime behind your own firewalls. The most important message that I want to call here is that you should book your migration slot early. We do have a lot of demand coming in. So if you haven't been through your assessment yet, please reach out to us. There is a link in the email that you can click to fill out a form, and that form will help us know who to contact. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our roadmap. On the following slides, you'll see features that we've prioritized for the next 1 to 2 quarters. It doesn't guarantee that what I'm showing here will be completely or exactly what you're getting, but it's an opportunity for us to help shape the vision. So if any of these features are important to you or your team, we want to hear from you before we publish them. Our goal is to make these features truly work for you as the customer and for those who really want the feature most. And the only way we can do that is with feedback from you. So to provide feedback, you can simply scan the QR code and vote on the idea. Also add comments to the idea, and that'll help us understand what you're looking for. The first is the web designer. The new web designer brings app development directly into a browser. No installs or downloads needed. You can build and refine your Flow Connect applications from any device in a modern and intuitive cloud-ready experience. As Andreas said, we hope that this will be delivered early next year. We're also working with portal navigation built into the hub. The idea here is that deployment will become more streamlined across environments. So no more environment by environment setup, just consistent, reliable promotion. So you would configure your portal navigation here in the hub to be deployed across your dev, test, and production environments. The scheduler portlet can be used to visually assign resources to tasks, making complex scheduling simple, pretty intuitive, and fast. This now becomes available to us because of that database time zone handling feature that we just delivered this quarter. And not too dissimilar, the Gantt will also become available. And this allows you to visualize schedules, milestones, and task relationship, making complex timelines simple to understand and manage. We'll also be adding, on top of the ability to log in via Microsoft or email, we're adding Okta support as an identity provider. This just allows you to integrate with another identity provider outside of the two that we've already provided. What I think would be most interesting here to hear from our customers, if you scan this QR code, is what other providers are you using outside of Okta or Microsoft? Do we need to add other SSO capabilities to the product, or will those suffice? We are looking to add an ODBC connector to quickly link Flow Connect with existing databases. This will allow us to connect into a few of the systems that our customers are currently using outside of our abilities today. We want to build an AI-powered flow script generation, which allows you to describe data that you need in plain text and get some working flow script. So in this example here, we would like to query ABC classes where we get the names and the percentages from IFS Cloud. And the hope would be that in turn, we would get the subsequent flow script written almost automatically in seconds inside of your flow. And also, we do want to tackle importing Portal 2 translations. So we'd like to take those Portal 2 solutions and translations and bring them effectively into Connect through import, saving you time as you convert to the new product. Today, Ola demonstrated really nice what we have as capabilities for for Portal 2, but we don't have the capability yet to import those translations from Portal 2 to Connect. And then also, we do believe that the future of the phrase books is to be global. Today, they're at the application package level. So our hope is that we can share translations across apps and portal pages with this global phrase book concept, just allowing you to save some time when you manage your multilingual content. And last but not least, we will be looking at the FTP connector. So we did release the SFTP connector this quarter. The FTP connector will enable customers to securely exchange files where SFTP cannot be used. And with that, I'll hand things over to Łukasz, who will show you some of the exciting features that he's rolled out this quarter in the marketplace.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see my screen. Yeah, this is Łukasz from Business Ops. And I would like to start my today's presentation from presenting the lastly created apps. I will only focus on 3 or 4 of them, but this year we created 36 new items and we delivered them to the marketplace. So I hope you will have time after this presentation to visit our marketplace and check all these applications. I'm going to start with work permits application. This is actually a full stack, full size solution that will help you issue work permits for the service technicians who work in specific restricted areas. And this application also helps you control the entrance to the specific work zones, restricted zones where these technicians must operate. And to show you this application, I created a little recording. I'm sorry, I need to find it here. Okay, so this is the central screen of this application. This is the application, the portal prepared for the administrator, for the manager who is able to issue these work permits to other people. And as you can see here, the central part of this board is the map component where you can zoom in and see all the currently issued work permits. And you can also see the zones, particular zones that require some specific enter permissions. And you can filter them by manipulating the map component. And you can also check all the active work issues or the ones that have already been closed. So let's add a new work permit for a new operation. You can do that by simply dragging and dropping the pin and by placing it on the map in the area where the particular work order should be delivered. And now the application creates the form. You select the zone by the name, and then you fill out particular form. You obviously start by filling out a little description here, describing the need, the work that should be done there. And then you further select the restricted area. Specifically, you selected the work provider in case you have subcontractors delivering the maintenance work for your company. And you also select, this is important, you select the main contact, the person who will be responsible for this work permit, the primary technician who will perform the work on that location. And so let's select myself, and I can also select the person who requested that work permit. And we can move forward. So I'll maybe move it forward a bit faster. Now, you also have the ability to add risks connected to this particular work location. And some of the locations require specific equipment, like, for instance, gloves or glasses. And so you can define all the risks connected with a particular location, and also you can define the safety measures connected with them that the service technician must be equipped with when entering the zone. So as you can see now, I'm adding these safety measures to the work permit. And I can also require a specific certificate if this work requires specific skills, like, for instance, the manipulation of the high pressure oil tanks. This definitely requires specific skills and certificates. I can specify the required certificate here when when defining the work permit. So let's move forward. This time I don't need any specific certificate. And once my risk have been defined, by the way, I can use risk lists templates connected to my work zones, so I can reuse the risk previously defined for a particular zone. Then I also select my lead service technician, who will be the leader of the technicians of the crew team. And then I can finally create my work permit. So let's do that right now. I can also address this work permit to many people, but this time I'm simplifying it. And right now, this, after I refresh the view, we can see this newly created work permit number 72. And now I'm refreshing the details here. And the only thing that is left is the generation of the checking credentials. And once we confirm it, I'll maybe move forward a bit faster. Yeah, we set the expire time for the check-in credential, and we can also select if particular check-in credential is valid for multiple passes of the gate, or it's just one check-in type. And in that case, when it was used, this will be fully utilized. So this will no longer be valid for the next entrance. So I selected this one check-in, and I can proceed. And when it was done, the application creates this work permit for the service technicians and also sends it via email to all the crew members who are assigned to this work. And as you will soon see in my mailbox, a new email just came to my mailbox. So I will open it right now. And as you can see, this is what the service technicians will get after the work permit has been issued. So they will be able to show it to the security officer working in a specific zone. So let's come back to my presentation, and I'll show you how it will look from the security guard perspective. So yeah, the security guard gets a mobile application that enables him to scan the already issued work permit at the gate. And once the work permit if the work permit is valid, the security guard receives clear information on what must be checked when it comes to the equipment or maybe the certificates that the service technicians should show to him. And once everything has been checked, these are the items connected to the risks I just defined. The security guard should leave his signature, and then another signature is needed, issued left by the person who is the leading technician responsible for the entire team of technicians. So this is how the security officer application looks like. So this is the second side of the work permit, and this is the quick demonstration of the complete solution for issuing and managing the work permits. My next application is from a totally different area. This is a bunch of applications to manage and execute surveys and exams. And these are very generic applications so that they can be used in multiple contexts, like, for instance, to gather employees' feedback after the corporate Christmas party, or maybe also to gather substantial feedback on the corporate strategy. But you can also use the exam application to check employees' knowledge, especially when you send them to a training and you would like to check if they collected a necessary knowledge out of the training. So let me quickly demonstrate the application. It consists of, I'll show you the example of the exam application. This is the application for the exam administrator. As you can see here on the screen, there is a list of already defined questions. You can import the list from the Excel, or you can even clone another exam or survey to build your new edition of the survey or the exam. So there is a whole list of questions. You can refine them, you can modify them, you can create new questions, and obviously you have multiple types of questions to choose from when you define the exam questions. And for each and every question, you define a list of answers, of which some might be correct and some might be incorrect, because we now define the exam. And at the end of creating the particular question, you're also able to select the weight of particular question in the entire exam. So some questions and answers might be more important when calculating the total results than the others. And once you do that, you also assign a group of people who should participate in that exam. And then all the participants receive an email. This is an example email that has already been generated. And they have a link to the exam application. And once they open it, I pre-recorded a quick exam response session from the middle, actually. As you can see on the screen, we are at the fourth question out of 6 questions. And this question weighs 22% in the entire exam. So this has quite high weight. And now the user will select different options. In this case, we can select multiple options. And multiple can be correct. And this is another type of answer where you have to provide a number. Yeah, you need to guess the year of founding IFS company. And here is another question. This is a very simple type of question where you only answer yes or yes in this case. This is the exam summary. So before submitting your answers, you can review them and maybe refine your answer if you realize that something is incorrectly selected. And once you confirm the application, it's not confirmed, and the application will evaluate the total result based on different weights of different questions. And as you can see here in my example, I haven't passed the exam. Unfortunately, my score is 34%, while the threshold defined by the exam administrator was 50%. So I haven't passed the test. I need to be trained and I need to come back to the test again. Let's move forward then. And my last example of the applications I prepared for today is actually, it's not an application, it's an example to demonstrate to you a new approach to shaping the user interface by utilizing AI capabilities. In this example, we have this screen mimics a typical purchase order screen where you see different fields and you need to select from different drop-down lists. And of course, it's in normal cases, it's much bigger form. And of course, it's a bit tedious to select all these values. So what we can propose, as you can see, multiple values under these different properties, but we can dictate your purchase order by simply using the microphone. So let's do that. I recorded it this morning, so it's pre-recorded, but it was live recording of real application. So as you can see here, I said I need to Acer laptops by the end of the next week from eBay. I haven't even specified particular date. I just said next week. I did it today morning, so it's important for checking the date evaluated by AI. Now AI was processing, and here is the result. As you can see, the freely given information has been mapped onto proper selections, and actually even the date is properly decoded from the end of the next week phrase. And AI also determined the price of these 2 laptops based off some additional information it found in the system. So this is not a particular application. This is an example, but it shows you how you can now use the same approach in your application and maybe ease user interaction in different cases, like for instance, the creation of customer orders where you can dictate the customer order while you're talking on the phone to your customers. And then the application, the AI will note everything and convert to the preliminary version of your customer order that you can then fine tune. This is the end of my live demos, and I just wanted to quickly summarize that we currently have 6 applications that show you and that utilize AI capabilities, and the 7th application will come soon that will help you import any random data to the system. So you can only imagine that by random data, I mean you have Excel table that doesn't perfectly match your data set. There are different columns. There is a different sequence of the columns in your file, different data classification, and AI would do the job of mapping all these columns onto the right columns that are required in your data set. So this will help you automatically import various files coming from your different suppliers onto the format you require in your particular Flow application without any unnecessary user interaction. I'll skip this slide to be on time, and I'm going to quickly touch a new upcoming marketplace portal and marketplace hub. So to show you that, I'm going to show you the real application very quickly. This is the new look of the marketplace, Novacura marketplace solution. This is the public view that has been created to present all the apps we have on the marketplace. And with this new approach, you can easily check all the applications. You can see all the screenshots, all the new content. It's way faster than the previous one. You can select different types of applications. For instance, you can check this complete solutions, the big solutions, the biggest one we have in the marketplace. You can dive into them and read about all of them and check their compatibility with different ERP versions and so on, so on. So it's much better user experience that we believe will help you also easily find proper applications you need for building your own stuff. But this is not the end. The more important part happens when you click login, and then you'll be redirected to, we call it Marketplace Hub application, where you as a company will be able to define your organization. I hope you can see these details here. I'm now in the Novacura Labs organization. I can switch between different organizations. And I defined that my organization uses IFS applications 10, and we actually use both versions of Flow Classic in parallel to connect. And this application shows all the applications that match my setup. So I can only see generic apps and IFS 10 apps. I don't see apps for and free. I can do that, but then I can mark this checkbox to unfilter all the incompatible applications. So let me quickly show you how we can manipulate. Let's assume I would like to find the HubSpot. So I refreshed, and you see after refreshing, it remembers my query. It's interesting. So yeah, I filtered HubSpot integration example. I can click on this one, and then I can simply click Get Up button. And then I will have 2 options. So I can choose which version of the application I would like to get because my organization is connected to Flow Classic and Flow Connect. So I have this choice. If I'm only the Flow Connect user, I'll not be asked here. So let me select Flow Connect. And yeah, now what I should do is I should choose the application package. Where I would like this application to land. So I'll scroll down, or remember I have my demo package prepared for that case. Let me check it. Maybe let's do it this way. Okay, this is mine. And let's move forward. And now the application, the Marketplace Hub asked me to map my connectors onto the connectors, the application connectors to the connectors existing in my environment. Fortunately, the default mapping is correct for me. So I'm pressing next. And as you can see, the application confirmed that this application has immediately been enabled in my organization. So let's check it. This is my current view, and let me refresh it. This is my package. Now you can see the application that I just gotten from the marketplace appeared here in my application package. So this is how easy it will be for you to manipulate your marketplace application in the near future. Speaking about which, this new marketplace portal and especially this marketplace hub will be available in the next week. All the active marketplace subscribers will receive email notifications and invitations to this system. And with that being said, I encourage you to visit our blog and read more about all 200 applications existing on our marketplace, and especially to learn about the lately prepared applications for various process areas. Thank you for your time. And now back to Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Łukasz. So we have a few minutes left for questions, and I think we had a couple come through. So I'll let Irshad maybe ask the questions, and then each of us will come in and respond in our own categories.
Yes, Paul. I think we have quite a few, but due to time constraint, I'll pick maybe 2 or 3. So first question is about translations. Can we only import the translation to an existing app? So if I rephrase the question, they're asking, can you only import the translation, not the app?
Right. Yeah. No, it's the app. So it's the translation in Classic especially is not separated. So it's inside of the app and it will be created in the imported app.
Cool.
So just for clarity, that's one process, right, Ola? So you import the application, and the translations will come along with the imported imported application all in one.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yep. Thank you, Ola. We'll move to the next question. It's about debugging in the test and prod environment. So can all the logged in users enable this debug console for test and prod, or does it require any special permissions?
Yes. So the debugging setting is available to all users, and the idea is that the issue might be related to a specific end user. So the setting is available to all users.
Yep. Thank you, Andreas. We'll take maybe 2 more questions. Do you still support handover swim lanes?
So I take that one.
Yeah, either of us could take it, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess handover swim lanes. Our suggestion is to move those to seated inboxes in the future. So we do support seated inboxes in Flow Connect. The swim lanes that were presented by Andreas are the ones used for offline today, which are supported, right? But handover, for those who don't know the difference, it's when you have user swim lanes passing to another user swim lane. Probably pretty infrequently used in Flow Classic, actually. So for those customers who are using it, again, go towards the seated inbox, and there's a lot of benefits to that.
It could be this one feature where you send a notification also between lanes. Otherwise, it's mostly used for inboxes for sure. But we'd love to hear your feedback on that. So ideas.novacura.com if that notification is something you feel is missing.
Yeah. Maybe we'll take the last question. It's to Łukasz about marketplace. Will all the customers who currently have the current marketplace subscription, will they be automatically converted to the premium plan?
Yeah, that's a correct assumption. So as you know, we currently only have one flat plan, but we have a good news. We would like to treat our customers, the current marketplace subscribers, with with the necessary respect, and we would like to convert all of them to the premium plan without additional costs. So they will be automatically corrected. And for that reason, all those customers who would decide to sign their marketplace subscription before the end of the year will also be automatically converted to the premium plan.
Yes. Thank you, Łukasz. I think that's all from the Q&A. I'll hand it over to Paul to wrap up the demo.
So appreciate everyone. As we said, if we weren't able to answer any of your questions here, we'll do our best to send them in the chat and then follow up if there are others. We see 2 more came in here, Arshad, so we'll do our best to get to those and answer them inside of the chat itself. But thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you next quarter.